Okay, we figured out what the cool little gizmo on the top of the small Perfection can is. It's actually a pouring spout. The other day on the first can, I fought with that thing and couldn't figure out what was going on. There's no instructions other than a really bizarre little emblem on the top that doesn't give you a clue how it's supposed to work. I cut the little rings off yesterday and finally gave up and just pulled the lid off and went for it. But there's nothing in the instructions about that spout, which makes it really handy to make smaller batches. The challenge, if there is one, you get to wait 20 minutes after you mix the two parts before you can start finishing, which, you know, no big deal, I guess, but it does take time. So 2 days ago, we did these hulls this morning, and I did them with the decks down, and this time I'm going to do it with on the side and let gravity help me with the laying out of the finish to the greatest extent possible anyway, rather than having to wet sand out. And I don't know if this camera can pick it up, but you can see even after wet sanding with 320 and then 400, there's still very slight little lines in there. I'm not going to worry about those because my plan all along was always put minimum of 2 coats, most likely 3 coats on this thing, so it is what it is. And you can see some places where I have rubbed through, and that's part of the fun of this stuff. But it does, the thing about these really hard finishes is it does allow you to do the wet sanding and get the finish perfected by wet sanding and moving to higher and higher grades and then buffing. And then ultimately you're going to have a really fine finish, but you're going to wear some arms out in the process. Comfortable 84 in here right now. It'll make the finish dry quick. Okay, here was the clue that this paint loves to be painted flat. The dagger boards and rudders, when I painted them, came out extremely smooth right off the bat. And they're not really any different other than they were laying flat when I rolled and tipped them. So that made me decide that the way to go after the hulls was to do them on their sides and go for it. You can, and the deck itself, I'll at some point I'll work on in the upright position and put additional coats on it as well. But it does. It's first. It's a lot easier. You can see what's going on. Is one big help. And you've got a big surface to work, and like I said, you can see it. So that's just massive. And I'm cooking up a second batch right now, so I can finish this other hull, and we'll go from there. And I'm thinking a third coat is highly likely, just because my first coat was part of the learning curve, and I don't do good at learning curves, so it is what it is. But this is working. It's just a lot of work. Certainly, if you knew what you're doing, and the next time I do this, it wouldn't be quite as much work. But because it's massively easier when that surface is super smooth to sand out and then buff out. So it's when you've got all the brush marks and everything else that you work real hard. So, and I have done a lot of hard work on this, but I'm liking what I'm seeing. And for sure, I like my super sleek, smooth decks. It's hard to see here, but they look cool. Kind of hot rod-like cool almost. So I think that was cool. And if I decide I need some texture there, there's certainly some really good clues, but I don't think on the top deck I need texture. I need it on the side, and I think that's we mentioned in the forum some good solutions, and I like the one that the stand-up paddle boarders are using on their board. So maybe use that on the side. So in small areas, I really don't want to cover this super sleek hull. And looking at this, I don't know if you can see this or not, but you can just barely see my fairing work, which probably could have been better, but it's certainly good enough. Inside the shop, this almost looks black, but outside when I was working on wet sanding this morning, it's definitely a really deep dark blue. So I'm liking it.